intermittent cutout of our speedometer, and all of our needle gauges go out. And then it sometimes comes back on. It's associated with a big bump, and when my son hits the dash, especially on the left side, often it'll come back, but not always. So we're thinking it's not a fuse. It may be some kind of a loose soldering joint in the circuit board that lives inside the cluster, but we're going to check out a few other things too. Yeah, let's try firing it up. So usually everything does work. So the gauges are working now, but when it does have a problem, then everything goes back to zero. So we lose temperature, we lose fuel, anything with a needle goes out. Does that display go blank too, Jerry?
Yeah.
So all the digital display here goes out too. So when we hit the dash, we'll lose it for a second. And then it comes back. So there's something loose up here. So we're going to remove the cowling, and we're going to take a look at the connections to the cluster. So we raised up the steering wheel as far as it'll go. We have a Phillips head screwdriver on an angle attachment. We're spinning it off.
If this video is helping you, please consider pressing down in the lower right hand corner of your screen the subscribe button, and that really helps our channel. Thanks.
Spun off the second one. Now we lower the steering wheel back down. I'm going to grab the cowling from the base, pull it, kind of wiggle it, pull it. Got the top coming out. Comes the cowling. We have to take out these screws down here, Phillips head. And there's a couple at the top here. Two at the top. Taking out the two Phillips head screws here at the bottom. One here, one over here. Let's take out this top one with our angle tool. Taking out the second one. So now we're just trying to finagle the cluster out. We got all the screws out. Takes your time. Just got to get the right angle. So, this is where our friend comes in and is soldered into position.
Yeah.
That one, that one, that one, that one, those guys. And when we move this thing around, the circuit board flexes a little bit. It's normal.
It'd be more like this.
To drop out to zero. So we think that it could be a problem with the cluster. We checked the wiring harness that went in for voltage, and we bent it back and forth while checking for voltage, and we didn't get voltage drop. So we don't think there's a problem with these wires. We think it may be something to do with the pins themselves. So we're going to use the dielectric grease, or maybe something to do with this connector being able to move. Putting some dielectric grease right now on the male side of this connector, the modular connector that's coming from the car to the cluster. We're going to put some on there. We'll put it on all three of these, and we'll plug it in, take it for a test drive on a bumpy road to see if there's any improvement. If we don't get improvement, the next thing we'll do is open up the cluster again and expose the soldering joints for this one connector, this middle connector that seems to be problematic, and we'll just melt each one of the soldering joints, or maybe add a tiny bit more solder to make sure all those connectors are good. Using the dielectric grease on the furthest to the right modular connector, the middle one, and the one on the left. The middle one, when testing, doing a live test, was the one that made the needles drop out when we wiggled it. And also when we hit the dash, either in the center part or the left, we'll either get the needles dropping off to zero, or if they are dropped off to zero, hitting it again, you'll get action back. So we've ruled out a bad ground problem, and we're just stuck with trying to figure out now if it's just a loose modular connection or there's a bad soldering joint. So we're just using this dielectric grease. This is from AutoZone. It's just called bulb grease, but it's all the same stuff. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and hook the cluster back up. We're just putting the cluster kind of back in its original position, but tilted down to allow us to reach in and get our modular connectors, and kind of getting them in position first. Then we can get the cluster even a little further in. So this one gives us enough wire we can just hook it up right now. So pushing it all the way in, making sure it clicks nice and solid. So Jared's got a hold of that one furthest to the right. That one's a little tricky. He's pushing that one back in. All right, now he's going to do the middle one. And we're going to perform a live test before we do the final install to see if anything's different. So that clicks in really good, nice and solid. Okay, we're just going to wipe off a little extra grease there, and then we'll put the plug, we'll put in the key and turn it to all the way to just before the car starts. See what the needles are doing.
Okay, that's on.
So the needles are doing their normal thing, and now while looking, we're going to wiggle that middle connector to see if there's any change. Previously, when we wiggled it, we would lose our needle. So we tried various things to get rid of the intermittent cutout, and finally what we figured is that the soldering joints were just so compromised that it would make more sense to replace the cluster. So we got a used cluster on eBay for about $78, and it had 146,000 original miles, and ours had about the same. So we just plugged it into the 3 modular connectors, and then we put it in position, and it worked perfect. So hopefully that's something that will help you guys too. Watching our video, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. To contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com, with any of your questions. And also, if you need to have a FaceTime meeting with me or a Zoom meeting, you can click on one of the links below in the description, and we can set up a 15-minute or 30-minute video conference where we can work on your appliance problem. So thanks again for all your support and for watching the video.